All right. I think we are in business. Let me just make sure that this is working on YouTube. Yes. Okay. We're in business, my friends. So instead, let's go to this link. And we will do this on YouTube. I think it's less glitchy over there. There's also a live chat on YouTube. So you can ask questions there as well. Okay, perfect. So let's just do it over there on the old YouTube. Oh, good. So many comments already. Fantastic. Okay, we're in business, my friends. And let me just go to that link so I can see your questions. Cool. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now so you can see the questions. Fantastic. Okay. Okay. So our first question here is from Larissa, and she asks, if I primarily focus on e-courses as my income stream and get funnels in place for each one in my product suite, barring launches and course packages that include coaching type offerings, how much of this is really passive income? So basically, if I start launching online courses as an income stream, how much of it is really passive income? This is a great question. Because I think courses are kind of touted as this passive income stream where you don't have to work and you can sit on a beach and drink margaritas and never have to do anything again. And that's not been my experience, my friends. Now, I will say that creating an online course can be a great way to create passive income, but you need to have certain systems in place in order for that to happen. So I definitely earn a majority of my monthly income is from passive income, but that's because I've set up sales funnels for my online courses. If you are just doing launches throughout the year, then that's not going to be very passive at all, and you're going to constantly need to be promoting your online course in order to make money for it, which is why I recommend creating some sort of evergreen sales funnel in order to drive more traffic to your courses or any types of products and make those sales more on autopilot. Now, it won't necessarily be completely passive. I mean, even though I make money from passive income from sales funnels and things like that, I still have somebody full-time who does customer service. And that's just because we have a lot of customers now. I didn't need somebody full-time until maybe a year ago, but you probably will need someone to help you with emails, or maybe you do that part yourself, and also helping with kind of managing your students and community, or maybe you do that part yourself. So it is and isn't passive in that sense. If you do have sales funnels, that's more passive than just launching, but you also are going to have some of that kind of administrative stuff to do on a weekly basis or daily basis, depending on how many emails you get. And then Larissa also asks, I want to take a month completely off before the end of the year. Go, Larissa. I love that goal. But I'm afraid once the ball starts rolling, it'll have a negative impact on my business, customers, and sales. So if I had to hire a temporary virtual assistant, how many hours a month would upkeep take? So this answer is very subjective. It really depends on how many customers you have, how many clients you have, if you're planning to have any clients, and how much customer service they need. So what I would do is hire somebody sooner rather than later, both because you want that person to understand your business before you peace out for a month and really make sure that they know what they're doing so they're not just constantly emailing you for advice. And then when you leave, it'll be so much easier to just pass it off to that person, and you'll know how many hours a month you would need them to work. So it could range, honestly, from 10 hours to, I don't even know, like full time, right? So it just depends on how many customers you have. And what I would do, so this is my advice to anybody who wants to hire a virtual assistant for anything, is start keeping track of those tasks in your business that you do on a regular basis. So for me, those tasks are things like, how do we respond to customer service emails? How do we set up a webinar presentation? Like, how do we set up the back end? How do we send an email? Like, what does the formatting look like? And how do you actually send it in our email service provider? So all of these different little tasks that you're doing on a regular basis, create a folder in Google Drive or whatever you want to use, but Google Drive is kind of awesome for this because you can share files with other people. So create a folder in Google Drive and then this folder will be called your standard operating procedures, your SOPs. And in this folder, you create a new document for every single task that you do on a regular basis that you could have somebody else do, which is a majority of the tasks that you are probably already doing. And even if you're not ready to hire a virtual assistant just yet, I would actually still do this because when you do feel ready to hire somebody, you really need that extra support. You're going to be glad that you have these systems mapped out ahead of time versus having to create all of them when you're already too busy, right? So in each document, you write out every single step to complete a task, from go to this website, click this button, to like fill in this information, just everything, and make it just this foolproof system that somebody can follow in order to complete a task. And that's going to cut down on how many hours they take and how much they're going to need to kind of bug you for advice on how to do something, because they'll just have that SOP. So hopefully that is helpful. Now, I wanted to put this question after Larissa's because it's kind of in a similar vein here. So Naomi asks, I currently have a service-based business, but I'm keen to transition into the courses realm at the latter part of this year. Now, firstly, I'm struggling with how to find the time to maintain my existing service-based business and focus on course creation. How did you find that transition period? So if you all don't know, I used to have a web design business for a couple of years, and I transitioned to doing online courses around summer of 2015 while I still had my web design business. Now, for me, I knew that I wasn't interested in continuing my web design business, and I really wanted to do courses full time. So I actually just stopped taking clients so that I could focus on my course business. Now, that's not a decision that everyone wants to make or is right for everyone, because a lot of people want to have both, right? Which is totally reasonable. But in terms of finding time, that was really important for me to not take clients for that month just because I didn't have the time to create a course. So what I would probably suggest is either taking on less clients for a month and really mapping out your course creation and launch strategy during that month. Like, make sure that you've got it down so that you're not kind of swindling, is that the right word? Swindling that time that you have to work on your course stuff. So take on less clients and free up a little bit more time. Yes, it might be that you'll make less money that month. That's what happened to me, but it's all kind of in this, you're all just kind of doing it so that you can prepare yourself to earn more when you do launch your course. And one thing I'll just point out too, and we talked about this in the masterclass about income streams, is if you have a service-based business and you want to add a course, your service should be your highest tier, right? So working with you is your highest tier, and then your course is going to be one of your lowest tiers. So it's that lower barrier of entry. It should be a cheaper product. And then if they want more of that done for you or done with you kind of service, then that should be a higher, more expensive tier that they would be paying for. And another tip, like in case you really can't take on less clients, then really evaluate your schedule. Like, what in your weeks and your days is negotiable? What can you remove for a month and just remind yourself that this is temporary? This isn't something that you have to quit forever, sacrifice forever, but it is something you might need to sacrifice for a month or two while you get this course business off the ground. I'm kind of a believer that we always have time. It's more of just what sacrifices are we actually willing to make in order to make space for that time to do and accomplish these other goals that we have. And then secondly, Naomi asks, how much time do you think I should realistically set aside to both create my course content, but also set aside for promotions too? So for your first course launch, in terms of promotions, I don't recommend doing something that is like crazy in depth, tons of emails, lots of webinars, affiliates. I don't recommend that because it's going to overwhelm you. And it's very time consuming, especially if you're not doing your courses full time or you don't have anyone helping you full time. So for your first launch, do something really simple that's not going to take a ton of your time. Just get that kind of quick win, get that momentum going, get a few students into your course so that you can start making money from it and getting testimonials so that the next time you launch it, your course is revised based on your student feedback. You've got some great testimonials, and then you can do a bigger launch because you know that this thing will sell. So for your first promotions, I would say just do a few emails, maybe 5 to 7. Normally I would do like 10 to 12. So maybe more like 5 to 7 emails spread out over a couple weeks. I would recommend doing one webinar if you have time for it. If not, don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay. And that's kind of like the extent of what I would do. You can do social media, you can add other stuff if you have time, but emails and webinars I've found to be the most important things in terms of launching a course. And then how much time should you set aside for creating the course content? So this also depends on your course. If your course is this really in-depth signature course, then it's going to be a bit more time that you're going to want to set aside, especially if there's a lot of content to create. But if not, if it's more of like this is your first course, you want it to be a little more bite-size, then you could honestly finish the content in a few hours and then start recording it. I taught an in-person workshop a couple weeks ago, and one of the students who came flew in from Florida. So I believe it's about a 5-hour flight. And she created all of her slides for an 8-module e-course. She showed me her slides. It was very in-depth. She created all of the content on the flight from Florida, 5 hours. And I mean, so that's really focused, concentrated time. So kind of taking that as an idea of how much you can do if you have that focused time. Now, for me, I don't think I would be able to do that much in 5 hours, but it really, again, just depends on the person. So really focus on having that concentrated time and working on your course content. But what it entails is what I would do is outline the course content in a Google Doc or something like that, so you know what goes into the slides, then create your slides, and then record your slides. And then you'll have the videos to export. So all of that together, I mean, realistically, if you really focus on this, you can do all of that in a couple weeks and really have your course ready to go fairly soon. Okay, and I see a question here in the chat from Sylvina who asks, do you pay a salary or something related to the number of responses? So I think you're asking about my virtual assistant for our customer service. So I have one full-time virtual assistant and I pay him a salary. And and I'm not really like a stickler with I don't want to be a stickler with my full-time employees about like, you have to work this many hours or you have to work from 9 to 5 kind of thing. I want it to be flexible for them as well. So I don't give him like set hours or amount of time he has to work. It's more just, here's the stuff that I need you to do, get it done. So he is on a salary, but kind of selects his own hours and he always gets the work done. And then I have another virtual assistant that I'm starting with who is hourly right now. And it's more just based on how much work there is. So you'll get an idea when you hire a virtual assistant of how much time it's going to take them to do all of the tasks each week. And that'll help you kind of plan ahead for how much you should pay them and how much you should budget for a virtual assistant. Tammy says, I finished a course in a week, 20 slideshow videos. That's fantastic. Yeah. So you could do this, create your course in a week or two. It definitely doesn't have to take you months. I've definitely heard from people who are like, I'm going to launch my course in October because it's going to take me a long time. And I'm like, dude, you can have this finished like by the end of next month and launched. You definitely don't need to spend that much time. And it's not as time consuming as you would think if you have that concentrated focus. Okay. So back to business here. Angela asks, can you provide advice on how to get started with a service? Specifically, if you're thinking of adding coaching to your income stream, how would you advise setting it up? I've seen a lot of people do free 15-minute calls to get started. Should there be a survey or questions to answer before the call or initial meeting? So getting started with a service, really only entails a few things. And this is a great income stream to get started with if you're starting out or you're starting a brand new business. I would say it's probably one of the easiest income streams to start with and to make a full-time income from. So this is my first income stream as well. And in terms of getting started, what you really need is some sort of page on your website that talks about your packages or what your services are. And I would be really specific on this page. So I wouldn't just like put it up and be like, I can do I can design your website, I can design social media graphics, and just list all of these things that you can do. I'm just using an example of a designer here. I would create packages of this package includes this and doesn't include this. This package includes this and doesn't include this, so that people are really clear about what they get. And then after that, you can have them just contact you. What a lot of people do, especially in the coaching industry, like you mentioned, is do a free discovery call. So these are free 15, 20-minute calls where you will talk to the potential client on the phone, tell them more about the package, answer any of their questions. But at the end of the day, these calls are sales calls. So you want to make sure that you're approaching it from a sales perspective. Like you kind of want to sell it to them, just in terms of how much value you're providing, how useful it's going to be for this person that you're talking to. So it's not going to feel like super salesy because they're obviously already interested and they want to learn more about it. But you do want to treat it as a sales call where you know this person is interested, and now this is your chance to really get them to commit to one of your packages. You could do a survey as well if you have a particular service that's kind of only for certain people. So maybe you are a business coach and you only want to work with people who are earning 6 figures or more in their business. So that could be something that you would put in your survey, like how much money are you earning in your business, or what stage of business are you at? Right? That's just a business coach example, but it would work for any type of coaching industry to have some survey questions they need to fill out just to kind of vet people before you hop on a call with them. Because if you start to get tons of calls every day, that can really eat up a lot of your time. So a survey can be a good way to kind of weed out the people who are not a good fit for you before you hop on the phone. But in terms of creating a service, that's kind of the baseline of what you need is a page with your packages, some sort of website where people can find your services, right, and know what you offer. I'd also recommend, especially after you start getting clients, is having a testimonials or portfolio page where people can just kind of see, or even case studies, where people can see what value you've provided to others so that they can get an idea of what they can expect if they work with you. I think we've got a couple questions here in the chat. So real quick, Fawn James says, what did you use to create the course with slides and audio? So when I create my courses, I use the microphone I'm using right now, which is an Audio Technica ATR 2100 microphone. I think it was about like $70 on Amazon, which I feel is a pretty good deal. I've had this thing for like 2 years and it still works quite well. So get a microphone. I think that's really important just for your course to sound professional. And then for slides, I use the same thing I'm showing these slides to you right now on, which is Keynote. So Keynote is for Mac, PowerPoint is for PCs. And so either one of those will work perfectly for creating your slides. And then you just need something to record your slides with. So I use ScreenFlow. ScreenFlow is a software you can use if you have a Mac. And then if you have a PC, the software is called Camtasia. So I'll type those into the chat for you right now so that you have those in case you didn't catch that. So the mic again was the Audio Technica ATR 2100, and the screen recording software was ScreenFlow or Camtasia. And then in terms of delivering courses, I use something called Teachable. Teachable has been great for me. My students really enjoy it. It's very streamlined. You just pay a monthly fee and you can create sales pages. You can upload all of your course and have it be kind of like that membership site style where they have to log in to view the course. It has a payment processor, so you can do checkout pages and all that good stuff with Teachable. Now, there's other ones too, like Thinkific and Teachery are a couple other ones. I haven't used those. I've loved using Teachable, so that's the one that I would recommend. So, More Positivity asks kind of a follow up question here. How does it work when you are providing coaching and you don't want to work with someone or you don't mesh? I am taking life coaching courses now to become one, but I'm curious about that aspect. Um, Not after you start working with them, but I mean at the initial call. That's a great question. So if you are on that discovery call with somebody and you know that this is not a good fit, let me actually just stop sharing for now while I'm answering these questions. Okay, so if you are working with someone or you're on that initial call and you know it's not going to be a good fit, then you can kind of say that on the call. I mean, you can be really nice about it, but you can say, like, if they tell you more about themselves and their kind of situation where they're at right now, you can say, like, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I feel like we're not the best fit to work together because of XYZ. Maybe just mention something that they said, like maybe they're at the wrong stage, or some other kind of piece of information you could use. But then also add, but I have somebody that I'm going to refer you to that I think would be the perfect fit for you. So I had to do that when I was a web designer as well, where I knew I didn't want to work with somebody because maybe of their personality or maybe the design style that they wanted was just not my style. So I would tell them, like, I'd love to work with you, but I think my design style is a little bit different from what you're looking for. So I have a friend who is a great designer that I'd love to refer you to instead. So you can use something like that to make sure that you're only working with people that you really want to work with, which is a great question and definitely something that I would recommend. Okay, let me see if I missed anything here. A WordPress plugin for unique passwords for a customer who purchases my course. I want to host the course on my website. What you could use is something called Wishlist Member, which is actually what we use inside of PursuitHQ, Wishlist Member. So it gives each student or each member an enrollment password and username, and then you can actually host your course right on your website as well. Now, it's a little bit more techy to host it yourself versus using something like Teachable or Thinkific, but it's possible. You might just have to kind of get through the learning curve, or hire a developer, which is what I did, to set it up for you. City Girl Saving says, what do you think of PDFs for e-course content? I think they're a great addition to e-course content, but if you're just doing a written e-course, personally, I mean, you can do that totally. I've bought e-courses that are just written material, but for me, when I have done that and I didn't know it was just written material, it was almost like a little bit of a letdown for me because I was like, oh, this is kind of just like an expensive ebook, right? But if it's really valuable, then I mean, it still works, right? And some people do that. And if writing comes more comfortably to you, then that's something you can consider. I would just also factor that into your pricing for your e-course, because a written course, in my opinion, is not worth quite as much as one that includes multimedia like videos, worksheets, transcriptions, all that kind of stuff. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I do think PDFs are a great addition to your videos or whatever else you have in your course. Just checking out the questions here. Actually, think I can look them up on this computer. I don't have to like look over there. Okay, so mending with gold. It's funny on YouTube, everyone has like their username. I want to start providing services on creating personalized explainer animation videos on my personal development blog because I also use these animation videos in my posts. Is that okay? Yeah, I mean, it's different, obviously, from the kind of content that you're teaching on your blog, which is personal development. But because you're using those explainer videos on your blog and people can kind of see what you're doing, it can work. So I was in almost the exact same position. I had a blog that was about personal development, creativity, almost like a lifestyle blog when I first started. And then I started selling web design services because I designed my own website. I would design my own graphics, and my readers would notice that and would ask me about design stuff. So even though it's not directly correlated, because you're already showing them what you can do, it can definitely work. Where people are probably reading your blog right now and they're like, that would be cool. I would like to buy that, right? Like I really like this person's videos, so I want some for my own. So it can definitely work in that sense. For Sylvina, how do you start with the slides and then add the voice? So if you've got your slides created in Keynote or PowerPoint, then all you would need to do is use ScreenFlow or Camtasia. And then what happens is you just press record my screen, you've got your microphone hooked up, and then you just speak through your slides, like basically how I'm doing with the slideshow that I'm showing you for these questions or for Pursuit HQ's masterclass. So you just play the slideshow, you speak through the slides, and it will record your voice and the slides. So it just packages it all up into this nice little video. You can kind of edit it if you want to, and then export it, and then you're good to go. What are you using for the transcriptions? We use somebody on Fiverr, I believe. We have somebody that we consistently go to on Fiverr, and we get the transcriptions from them. If you need that person, let me know and I will ask, or even email hi@thenectarcollective.com. That'll go to Kenny, who manages all of our customer service for the most part, and he is in contact with that person, so he can send you that contact if that's someone that you want to use. Um, what program can I use to make meditation audios using my voice and music? If you have a Mac, I would recommend GarageBand because you can record your voice in GarageBand, especially if you have a microphone, would be awesome. And then you can add music afterwards. So you can layer the music in after you've recorded your voice. That would probably be the best way to do it. Um, Yeah, I would do it that way. GarageBand is really good though. And I think it comes with your Mac, so it's free if you have a Mac. Oh, good. Mending with gold. I'm glad to hear that. And Sylvina, if you actually just scroll up a little bit, I did write the names of the apps so you can see those. All right. So I'm going to jump back into the questions that we have here that people submitted ahead of time, and then I'll come back into the chat after that and answer more of your questions. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so Christine asks, what service would you recommend to create urgency to buy an online product? Also, what service would you recommend for an evergreen webinar? Okay, so, and I believe Christine mainly means service as in software. So what software would you recommend to create urgency to buy an online product? I've got the perfect software for you. It is called Deadline Funnel. I use it, and it's a fantastic product to add that evergreen urgency to your product. So it'll add things like timers, it'll add deadlines. So basically, if somebody enters a funnel on Monday, then it will automatically close the offer on Wednesday or whenever date you decide. And it can do that for each individual person. So you don't constantly have to be like checking to see where people are in your sales funnel. It knows when they enter the funnel, and then it will close the offer after a certain amount of time that you specify. So it's really cool. I'm actually doing a webinar on Thursday with the founder of Deadline Funnel. So check your email and make sure to sign up for that. I know he's got a really special offer just for my folks. So I would come to that. He also is teaching more about urgency in the webinar. So I think it'll be really valuable for you. And then what service would you recommend for an evergreen webinar? So the software that we used before I had to switch over to YouTube was called Webinar Jam. Webinar Jam is for live webinars. So that's what we were using. I actually don't typically have problems with it. So you didn't get a good look at it today when we had all those tech issues. But they have an evergreen version of Webinar Jam. It's like the exact same product, but it's for evergreen webinars. And that is called Ever Webinar. Ever Webinar. I've had great results with Ever Webinar, and that's what I would recommend. I haven't used any of the other ones, but Ever Webinar has been really useful for my evergreen webinars. All right, so Angelica asks, what is the best way to reintroduce a product stream when you've gone radio silent for a while with your list? Is there a certain number of emails you should send them first to warm them back up and remind them why they signed up for your emails? And how soon should you wait before you pitch something, even a small item, to them? Great question. So if you have been silent with your list, you haven't really engaged with them in a while, then you'll definitely want to re-engage them before you start pitching. I would say that you would want to do this for at least a month of weekly emails, so about 4 emails that you send to them before you ever pitch something. And these should be all value-based emails. So you're sending them just pure value. Maybe you're directing them to one of your recent blog posts that's really good, or maybe one of your podcast episodes or YouTube videos, whatever you create, and just sending them free value in these emails. You could kind of start your first email with, hey, sorry that I've been radio silent for so long, but here's what you can expect from me from in the future weeks and months. And you can tell them, like, you'll be getting a weekly email. I'll be teaching you about XYZ. If you forgot about who I am, then here's a little bit about me. So keep that part brief, but do set some expectations so that they know who you are. Because sometimes if you haven't emailed them in a while and then you just start randomly, people can be kind of confused and just assume that maybe you're a spammer who got their email somehow. So you do want to remind them of why you're emailing them and what you're going to be talking about. And then from there, just start sending them pure value for several weeks. And then after those first 4 weeks, if you've got something to pitch, you can start weaving it into those emails, or you can start sending maybe 2 emails a week, where one is more sales related, one is more value related. So it kind of depends on what you're selling. But yes, start with the value for at least a month weekly. Set those expectations so that they remember who you are, or at least know that they want to stay on your list based on what you tell them you're going to be sharing with them, and go from there. But that's a great question. And a quick question I saw in the chat here, what is an evergreen webinar? So an evergreen webinar, like Kirsty said, is a pre-recorded webinar. So this could be a webinar that you taught live, but now you want to share it with people even if they didn't get to see it live. So you can create a pre-recorded webinar and then just run it where people have to sign up to watch it. And then they go and they're able to watch the pre-recorded webinar kind of whenever they want to. So this can be a great sales funnel because you're providing a lot of value to people with your webinar, and then you're pitching your product and potentially offering a special little deal for people who watch just that evergreen webinar. All right, so Anna asks, what kind of product or service is best to provide for a new business owner? What kind of product or service is best to provide for a new business owner? Great question. So I would say there are 2 that are ideal for people who are just starting their first business. The first is a service. So whatever kind of service you can offer. For me, it was graphic design. Now, I didn't go to school for graphic design. I didn't like professionally learn graphic design. I had just had graphic design as a hobby, and I saw that other people online were selling it. And I thought, you know what? I've been doing this for many years as a hobby, so why not just try and sell it to other people online? And it worked out, right? It worked out really well for a couple of years. But that wasn't like some sort of professional skill I had. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to have a degree or professional skill in this particular service that you're doing, as long as you know that you can provide results for the people that you're trying to serve. I think that's plenty to offer a service. And services are nice because you don't necessarily need a lot of clients to get started and doing this full time, because services generally are a little bit more expensive. So you can have just a handful of clients and actually have that be a full-time business. So if your audience is small in the beginning when you start this business, then that's okay, right? Because you just need a few clients to make enough money for your business. So services are nice. They're also pretty inexpensive to get started with. You kind of just need a website, and that's basically it, actually. It's quite inexpensive to get started with, which is another perk if you're starting your first business. Now, a product that I would recommend if you're a new business owner is an online course. So if you have some sort of knowledge that you can teach to other people, an online course is a fantastic medium to do it through, because you're able to charge a decent amount for courses. I mean, there's definitely a range from maybe $100 to thousands of dollars. I've seen courses for $5,000. Of course, those typically include more coaching or kind of one-on-one support, but you can charge quite a lot for an online course, or a little, it just really depends. But they're also inexpensive to get started with. So really you just need a microphone. It's about $50 to $100, and then a screen recording software like ScreenFlow, which is $100. And that's kind of it. And then you can use something like Teachable, which hosts your online course, and they even have a free plan that you can get started with. So it doesn't have to be expensive to get started with online courses. And by the way, like, your online course or service-based business can become more expensive over time as you want to add more bells and whistles. But in the beginning, when you're starting, it can be quite inexpensive. Just keep in mind that you will probably need to buy more things as your business grows, but you'll hopefully be making more money by then, so it won't really matter. But the only thing for an online course is that you generally will need some sort of audience or email list to market it to. So this is great if you've got like a social media following, or you've got some readers on your blog, or email subscribers, and you're looking for something that you can start selling to those people. But online courses are not that great if you have nobody in your audience right now, like you're brand new, just getting started. What you would want to focus on more instead is growing that audience first and foremost before you launch a course to them. But if you're just getting started, I would say a service, whatever you have a talent in and you're interested in helping people with, or an online course. Okay, just kind of checking the questions to see if there are any questions about that question. Diane says, is there a certain audience size you need to launch a course? Let's go back here. I have had students in my Blog to Biz Hive course who have launched a course and made thousands of dollars with a list of 250 people. I've had multiple students do that. So I know that you don't need a lot of people on your email list to make a decent income from online courses. But I will say what I normally recommend to people is that they have 1,000 people on their list. So 1,000 people for me is kind of like the benchmark of this will probably make enough money to be able to do this full time. But again, I've had people with 250, 300 person lists who have made thousands of dollars from their courses. So it's also about your expectations. If you have a 300 person list, then maybe just you wouldn't expect as many sales versus if you had a 3,000 person list, right? So it's kind of just your expectations and knowing that maybe you're not going to make a ton of money from this first launch to a tiny list, but you'll make some and you'll learn a lot, and that will be worth it, right? But I mean, you can launch your course at any time. You don't need to have a certain amount of people. It's more just managing your own expectations for what you expect to do. I'm going to see a couple people who are asking about what do you recommend for business that is in two languages? So same business in two languages. That's actually funny because one of the students who came to our live workshop a couple weeks ago also has a business in two languages. And what she does, she has a blog. She offers branding services in two languages. She translates her blog into both languages, and she's creating an online course, which I believe she's probably going to translate into both languages as well. So I don't think that you necessarily need to like hold yourself back if you have two languages in your business. You can do kind of anything. You just need to be able to do both of those things in both languages. And really make sure too that if you're providing free content like blog posts, then you're also providing those in both languages so that you're growing both of those audiences in both of those different languages. What I wouldn't do is combine everything so it's like all in two languages. So, for example, your blog posts are in maybe, let's just say, English at the top of the post and then translated to Spanish at the bottom of the post. And then your online course is like in English with Spanish subtitles or something like that, right? So don't mesh them together because that's going to end up repelling some people who want to feel like you really get them. But you can have two versions of the same thing just in different languages, if that makes sense. Oh, Louise, I'm so glad that you are enjoying the Blog to Biz Type course. That is awesome. Okay. And last question here, and then we'll dive back into these questions. So I'll stop sharing this too, actually. From Elisa, up here, says, I struggle with finding a service that is worth the time for me. My site is strictly meal planning, so if I offered custom meal plans, any other wait, so I offer custom meal plans. I think that's what you're saying. Any other ideas for services other than coaching or custom plans? Okay. So meal planning. I mean, it seems like those are exactly what you do on your website, right? What for you, what is the hesitancy or resistance that you have to offering coaching or custom plans as a service? If those things don't feel like a good fit for you when your site is about strictly meal planning, custom plans wouldn't be worth the time spent. Got it. Okay. I mean, you could try something where you're basically collaborating. I'm not sure if your meal plans are maybe, let's say, for like busy moms who need meals planned and ready to go and don't have time to do it themselves, or busy parents, I should say, not just moms. Or if it's for people who are on a diet and trying to lose weight and need that kind of custom meal plan so that they know what they should be eating. So it depends on who it is, but let's just say it's more of the person who wants to eat healthy and they need that meal planned out ahead of time. You could try collaborating with somebody in maybe the fitness realm. You create a product together, maybe not necessarily a service, unless you want to do it together. You can kind of pair up together. And then you could either create custom meal plans or you could even create some sort of online course. So it seems like for your niche, creating an online course would actually be potentially more ideal because you can create a course that teaches them about nutrition and the types of foods that they should be eating, and then goes into helping them create their own custom meal plan where you're teaching them how to do it themselves versus you doing it as a service. And then I mean, you can charge a bit more for something like that and have that more passive kind of income coming in every single month. So I would say for that type of business, probably an online course or some sort of digital product could actually be really good for you. And then let's see, Kelsey asks, is it okay to offer a course at a discount to get feedback before the big launch? I am mm, I don't like the word discount only because I don't want people to think that your products are worth discounting, right? Like they're not these like cheap clearance items that people can get at a discount. And you don't want to train people to think like maybe another discount will be coming up in the future, right? You want them to know that this is not something that's discountable. It's something that's really worth the price. So if you want to offer a more inexpensive price in the beginning before your big launch, you can offer it at a cheaper price, but just instead of using the language of discount, use the language of the price is going to be going up next time I launch this so that they feel like they're getting a deal, but it's less of like a discount deal and more of this is super valuable, so you better get in now because the price is going up in a couple months, right? So I actually do that almost every time I launch a course where I'll launch it a little bit cheaper, I'll get some great feedback, I'll be able to revise the course, I'll get testimonials, and then when I launch it the next time, the price is more expensive than it was before. And I'll use that during the launch too and let people know the price is probably going up next time I launch it. Okay. And yes, Jacqueline, if you have to leave, the recording will be in the coaching section of Pursuit HQ by tomorrow. So you'll be able to watch the recording of this anytime. All right, so I'm going to go back to our questions here, and then we'll dive back into all of your questions in the chat in just a few minutes. Okay. All right. So Stephanie asks, how did you transition from one income stream to another without confusing or more like balancing current clients? I believe you're still doing graphic design while starting your online course business. How do you start a new income stream and differentiate it on your website? Okay, so we've kind of talked a little bit about this idea already, so I'll just touch on this a bit, but to give you some backstory here, I had my web design business for a couple years, and then I transitioned out of that right into online courses. And what I did is that I just basically quit my web design business. I told any new potential clients that I wasn't taking on any clients anymore. I did finish up with my current clients though. So I did have kind of that overlap for a month or maybe month and a half, 2 months, where I was finishing up my current clients while creating and launching my first online course. Um, so it wasn't really confusing to current clients because it was different from the service I was offering. My service was web design, and my new course I was launching was on Pinterest marketing. So it's actually something that many of my web design clients were interested in. It's something that was kind of designed for people like them. So what I did when I first launched that course is I actually reached out to those clients and told them, like, because you're a client, I actually reached out to past clients as well and told them, because you're a client, I've loved working with you. I want to offer you a discount on this new course that I'm offering. And right after I just told you not to offer discounts, I actually did that exact same thing. I feel like for clients, it's a little bit different. It's almost like a thank you for being a client discount. I wouldn't do a discount for everybody, but I did do it for those clients when I was first launching my course, just as like a thanks for being a client. And I think I also offered an extra bonus. Actually, did I think offer an extra bonus just to my clients who bought the course. Um, I'm trying to think of what exactly the discount was. It might have even been like if you buy 2 courses, you get it at this price. So like encouraging them to maybe it wasn't a discount. It might have been that where it was here's the price of the course, but if you enroll with a friend, like you find somebody else to enroll with you because I know that they all have other business friends, then you can both get it for this price where it would be a lot cheaper for each of them. I think that's what I did. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is you can actually create a course that you can market to your current clients and to your past clients without it being confusing, so long as your course is geared towards people like your clients. So it kind of just depends on the topic there. And then differentiating it on your website. I mean, I would just have a page for services and a page for courses, and just really make sure that you're targeting it at the specific people that it's right for. So even if I created a course, let's say I was a web designer, let's say that I created a course on how to design your own website. So those are very similar, right? If I'm offering web design services and a DIY web design course, then it's kind of it seems a little bit more muddy in terms of how do you offer this to people without confusing them. And what I would say in that situation is that you want to be really clear on who these different services and products are for. So the DIY web design course would be much less expensive than hiring a web designer. So you'd want to use that kind of language on your sales page. Like, you don't want to spend $5,000 on a website because you know that you can do it yourself if only you had the skills. So here's this course that teaches you about it. Or for my services page, it would be like, you don't want to have to sift through Google articles anymore about how to set up your WordPress website. Well, I'll do it all for you for this price, right? I mean, that's like the very short version of this, but you're marketing these two products to different people. And that's the whole point of creating this product suite and these different income streams, because each product or service you offer is going to be marketed at a different type of person in your audience. So just think of that in terms of your marketing. For your service, it's going to be more expensive for certain people who want that done for you or done with you type of service. And then your course will be more for people who want to DIY it, do it themselves, or just learn the steps before they hire someone else to do it. So that's how you would differentiate it, is just in the marketing of who this product or service is for. And Rachel asked, did you also survey your clients or former clients about the course topic they'd be most interested in? I didn't, but I did survey my audience. So I had a blog as well as my web design business. So it's kind of the same people. Usually my clients came from people who read my blog. But I surveyed my audience, and they told me what they needed help with. Now, my first course is called Pinfinite Growth. You might have heard of it, but it's about how to use Pinterest to grow your traffic and email list. Now, when I did that survey, nobody was asking me to create a course on Pinterest. So you have to read between the lines, because I didn't get questions about Pinterest, but I did get a lot of questions from people who were like, how do I grow my audience? How do I get more traffic? How do I attract more people to my brand? So all of those questions could be answered for me with how to use Pinterest more effectively. So it can help people get more traffic, grow their audience, all those types of things. So when you're doing a survey, just make sure you're reading between the lines and figuring out what are people asking and what's the solution. So instead of creating a course on how to, like, calling it the traffic course, right? Or something like that, it's a course about a specific strategy that's going to help them get that thing that they asked for in the survey. So hopefully that makes sense there. Okay, cool. It seems like this question is one that a lot of people had, so I hope that was helpful for you. All right, so Nicolay asks, could you please share what tools power your membership site income stream? So PursuitHQ, what you use to build it, content delivery, forum, payments, user profiles. So I will say that I actually hired somebody to do this for me. I didn't feel like I had the skills to set up a membership site on my own, but what we used, just the basics, are a WordPress website. We use Wishlist Member for creating the membership aspect. So Wishlist Member allows you to have your members create a username and password to log in with. So that's how you have that username and password, and how you're able to kind of block content from people who are not members. So if you're not logged in or you're not a member, and you go to a masterclass page, it'll just say something like, sorry, you need to be logged in to view this, which is a function of wishlist member. So it's not like anybody on the internet can find the stuff inside of PursuitHQ. So wishlist member is what we use for that. And then for content delivery, you can use wishlist member for that as well. And then for our forum, I believe it's called BB Press, which is a plugin for WordPress. And then for payments, we use Samcart. So a few different plugins and softwares meshed together. But again, I didn't set this up myself. I think it would be a little bit complex to do it yourself, which is why I decided to hire a developer to do that part for me. All right, so Pam asks, can you provide examples of income streams for an arts and crafts related business? So for example, scrapbooking, memory keeping. So there's actually a lot that you can use for an arts and crafts related business. You could have products, like maybe you eventually, this is probably something you'd want to do in the future once you have a larger audience, but it would be cool to have an arts and crafts line, right? So if you have ever heard of A Beautiful Mess, they now have, and they're a DIY blog, and they actually do a lot of scrapbooking and memory keeping stuff. They now have a line of their own products like papers, paint, all that kind of arts and crafts stuff that you would normally go somewhere to purchase. You can now just purchase through their site, and they design all of it, and it's pretty neat. So you could do that. That's probably something you'd want to do in the future when you have a large audience that you know would be willing to buy your arts and crafts products. But in the meantime, you can totally be an affiliate for arts and crafts brands. So write blog posts that people would be searching for that talk about like a particular product that you use, and use affiliate links to link to those products. And you could also do some sort of sponsored posts on your blog. So maybe working with those brands directly, where the brand is paying you to write about their product or to weave it into one of your posts. You can also teach an online course. So maybe you're teaching people about scrapbooking or memory keeping, like A to Z, how to create your first scrapbook or how to do advanced scrapbooking. So online courses could be a great income stream for you as well. You could even try something like an ebook. I typically advise against ebooks just because it's pretty much the same amount of work to create an online course, maybe a little bit less work to do an ebook, depending on how long it is. But you can charge so much more for an online course. It's so much more valuable for people versus selling a $15 ebook that's not really going to become a full-time business unless you have a huge audience. So a few ideas there for you, but a lot of things like sponsored posts, affiliate marketing, and an online course could be great for an arts and crafts related business. And then maybe down the line in the future, you could even create your own arts and crafts line. Okay, so Rita asks, when you had your graphic design business, did you come up with a package of services? What was included? What do you think is a good starting package, and how could it be priced? So Rita has 10 years of experience, but just can't relate to the market in North America. No problem. Okay, so when I had my graphic design business, I did come up with a package of services. So I would recommend that. And it's going to be in the beginning a little bit difficult to know exactly what's going to be in your packages. What I actually did was kind of look at other people in my niche or my industry that I knew of or that my audience was familiar with to kind of gauge, like, what are they offering in their services or their packages, and what's the kind of going rate for this package of services. So do a little bit of research and see what is typical for different packages, and then put your own spin on it. Like, you don't want to just copy somebody else's package of services, but you will notice trends of certain things that are offered at certain price points. So that can be really helpful. So in terms of what is included, it'll just depend on your industry and kind of the going rate and what's typically included for those different packages. But then, of course, you can revise things. So As soon as my schedule would fill up, like as soon as I'd be booked out for a month, I would start to raise my prices. So I raised my prices often for potential clients. And that was a big part of how I was able to grow my business. It was just when that demand was there, then I raised my prices because I knew that people were interested in what I was doing. So I had that value to offer. So I would raise those prices. And I would change my packages too. So if people started asking for the same thing over and over again that wasn't in one of my packages, then I'd pop it into one of those packages and just add that extra value somewhere. Or maybe I'd offer it as like, if you do this package, which is maybe the bigger package, you'll also get this stuff thrown in, which is a few like things that people had been asking me for. So you'll be able to revise these packages over time as you get feedback from people. You see what they don't really end up using or what they do really want that's not currently in your package. Um, and then just go from there. So, a good starting package and how it could be priced, it's really hard to say. I'm assuming you're in a graphic design industry here, but it is just kind of hard to say depending on your style, what you're offering. So I would just kind of figure out the going rate of similar people in your niche and then start there. And then as your business grows and you start getting more and more clients, then raise your prices and adjust your packages. But it is important, I would say, to just get those first few clients so that you've got that feedback. So it does not have to be perfect in the beginning. You can absolutely be able to start and revise your packages as things go along. Okay. All right. So Caitlin asks, I'm launching my first course in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I want to work on pre selling. What are the best resources or 1 to 3 must do steps to get things moving in the right direction? My course will cover social media management, the systems involved in staying organized. Very cool and great question. So you want to work on pre-selling. What I would do, so you're launching in 4 to 6 weeks, pre-selling your course before you've created it. So the first, let's say 1 to 3 must-do steps to get things moving in the right direction. Number one would be start growing your email list if you haven't already, or continue to grow your email list because your email list is going to be your biggest asset in terms of getting people to purchase your course. From there, you want to plan out your launch. So, what is in this launch that you're doing? I would have emails written so that you have those ready to go and scheduled during your launch. And then I'd also start your launch before you actually offer your course for sale. Plan out some sort of valuable event for your audience. So for me, sometimes I'll do a free challenge or a free video series or a free no pitch webinar where I'm just giving free value on the topic of my course or product, but I'm not asking for anything in return. I'm just giving a lot of free value to help people to attract those people to my list who are interested in this topic. And then after the challenge is over or the video series is over, then I would go into my launch where I'm pitching my course. So I would work on that as well. So growing your email list and creating some sort of really valuable free event for attracting people to your list and priming them for that launch. Those are the two biggest things I would say. And then for your launch, just considering the emails that you send out and having some sort of webinar, perhaps, if you want, it would be a great idea to have a webinar during your launch as well. Okay. All right. So Bliss asks, when it comes to scaling a graphic design business, what have you found to be the most effective way to do that? We have a lot of work, but the margins are still tight. Have you used a virtual designer to do the first round of concepts? What are some ways to scale that you've found successful? This is a great question, and it hits on an important point for a service-based business. So if you want to scale a service-based business, regardless of whether you're selling coaching or design or copywriting or accounting services, whatever it is, your two ways to scale your business, to earn more money, and to really kind of lift the ceiling of how much you can earn, are to raise your prices. So raising your prices will help you scale, or turn to more of an agency model where you have other people below you who are taking on clients and they're getting a portion of what they earn, or they're getting a salary and you take the rest of the profits for the business. So that is an option as well. It kind of just depends on what you prefer to do. So when I had my business, I kind of did both of those things. So I had one other designer who was below me who would who would work with certain clients, and I would pay her a certain rate for those clients, and then the rest would just be funneled into the overall business. And then I also raised my prices often. So whenever I again was booked up with clients, I would raise my prices so that I wouldn't be constantly booked out like months in advance for this certain price. I would just raise my prices. So you can do a combo of both. Increase your prices and then potentially hire a virtual designer to take on some clients, or like you said, to do maybe the first round of concepts and then you take it from there. I it As a designer, I think it would be a little bit difficult for the other designer to do the first round and then you finish it, just because you're two different designers, maybe two different styles. But you could hire that designer just to take on some of your clients. You just want to make sure, of course, that they have a comparable design style and that they actually have customer service skills as well, since they're actually going to be taking on some of your clients. But bottom line is that if you want to scale a service-based business, you would need to raise your prices for your services or turn to a little bit more of an agency model and hire other people to work below you, or with you, not necessarily below you, but just to work with some of your clients for you. Nadia asks, I have paintings and prints I want to sell. How do I go about it with lead magnets, Pinterest, Instagram, ConvertKit, Samcart, etc.? Basically, what do I need to do and have to sell my product successfully? All right, so this is a loaded question. So all of those things are kind of encompassing of basically how do you start a business? How do you create a profitable business in general? So yes, you can add all of those things, lead magnets, Pinterest, Instagram, etc. But I would start more simple because you want to get that momentum going before you burn yourself out. So if you have paintings and prints that you want to sell, I would say start with some sort of marketplace that already has a customer base, like Etsy. So you can create a shop on Etsy, add some SEO, search engine optimization, to your products on Etsy, and get those people finding your prints and paintings who are just searching for certain keywords on Etsy. So that's a really nice way to get those first few customers, because Etsy's got that search engine function built into it so people can find your stuff on Etsy. One other thing that I would recommend if you have any kind of physical product business, is working with bloggers or influencers by giving them free products in exchange for them of showing your products on their Instagram or in their blog posts, anything like that. So that is a great way to get your name out there, because for a lot of bloggers, they'll just accept a free item that they like without you needing to pay them. So if you have a print that maybe costs you $5 to print, and you can send it to a blogger who then shares it with their 10,000 Instagram followers, then that could be amazing exposure for you in terms of getting those people to know more about you and your brand. So if I personally was starting a physical product business, that would honestly be my number one thing. I would find influencers who I know have an audience that would like these particular products, and I would just start sending out a bunch of stuff to as many people as I can afford, right? So you just want to make sure that you're picking the right people who have that audience that would be interested in your type of paintings and prints. But once you find those people, that can be really huge for you. And then everything else will kind of just be added as you go along. You don't need to set up everything and be a master at Pinterest and Instagram and ConvertKit all at the same time. That is a good way to overwhelm yourself right in the beginning. But one thing that I do recommend to all businesses who are getting started is to start an email list. So that would be something like ConvertKit. And you can incorporate something like lead magnets or content upgrades, where you're creating free content for your audience and letting them know if they want more, like they want a worksheet or they want a free downloadable print or whatever it is that you're giving away for free, even a discount to your store. You'll probably notice if you go to almost any clothing shop online, it'll give you like sign up for our email list and get a 10% discount for new customers. I see that all the time. So you can offer something like that as kind of a lead magnet just to get those people on your email list so that you can then contact them via email to sell your products. So email list, working with influencers, and setting yourself up on a site like Etsy that has that built-in search engine can be a great idea for you. Okay, so one last question that was submitted, and then I'll dive into the chat to answer any other questions that you all have. So this question wasn't about income streams, but it was one of the masterclass videos that I talked about inside of Pursuit HQ. So I want to answer this one too. So Jacqueline asks, you mentioned a series is 3 or more posts. If my series is on publishing your own digital magazine, should I still stick with 3 posts or should I increase to 5 posts to make it more valuable? So, okay, so publishing your own digital magazine. Um, I I mean, you could do 5 posts to make it more valuable, but the kind of point of having it be 3 or 4 posts is that you wanna keep people engaged as well. So if it's too long, then people might start to tune out or they'll forget about it, or it'll just be too much information. So being able to condense it into shorter, um 3 or 4 posts of content could keep people more engaged. Now, this is just a hypothesis, so you'll want to test this yourself. But what I would actually suggest is that the first 3 posts are your pure value that you're sharing in this series to grow your email list. And then the 4th post is a roundup of influencers that you interview who give tips for people who are interested in this particular subject. So if it's publishing your own digital magazine, maybe you interview influencers who have also published their own digital magazine and you ask them like, what's the number one thing you wish you knew before you publish your first magazine? Whatever the question is, right? But the point of having that roundup post of influencers is that they will then share it with their audience and drive traffic to your series so that you get all of those new people viewing your series, which is really valuable, right? Those first 3 posts are awesome. So all of those people viewing your series and then opting into your email list, because as we said, each of those posts should have some sort of content upgrade or lead magnet associated with them to help you grow your list. Whew. Okay, I hope that helps. If that wasn't too confusing. But yeah, I would keep it to 3 or 4 just so it's a little bit more manageable for people. All right, everybody. Whew, we went through so many questions. I know there are more questions here in the chat, so I am going to go through the chat here and find some of these questions that you all have been asking, and we will go from there. And if you have other questions about income streams or about product suites, get some stretching in here, then feel free to pop them into the chat, and I will answer those for you as well. Okay, so Beth asks, I have a complicated question. I set up ConvertKit with the 3 buckets, but how do I stop the sales sequence once they buy my ebook on Shopify? Do I have to do it manually? Is there another way? Good question. So in ConvertKit, or really any email service provider that you have, you should be able to set up some sort of automation that pulls them out of that sequence. So in ConvertKit, it would probably be like, if they buy this ebook, then, or like if they get this tag, right? Because you want to tag people who purchased the ebook. So if they have the purchased ebook tag, then stop this particular sequence. So that will pull them out of the sales sequence. That is a great question because ideally you really don't want people to continue receiving those sales emails if they've already purchased your ebook or e-course or service, or whatever kind of product you're selling. So just make sure if you're using ConvertKit or whatever you're using, if they have this tag that says they purchased the product, then they stop this sequence of emails. Good question. So Diane asked, do you have any guidelines for pricing courses? So it does depend on what what you're selling, and how much information it is. So I typically tell people not to price a course below $97. I think that should be kind of your starting point, depending on what you're selling. That would even be for more of like a bite-sized course, maybe just teaching a little bit of something, right? Like not an entire process, but maybe something more specific. So 97 is kind of the starting point in my opinion. And then you can increase the price as you offer more multimedia. So things like videos, worksheets, transcriptions, um, written text that goes along with your videos. So that can help to increase the price by adding those aspects. You can also increase the price by adding other bonuses or more like, what is the word? More access to you. So if you have some sort of group coaching call like this, or you offer a one-on-one call with everyone who buys your course, that would allow you to raise the price quite a lot for your course. Um, so keep that in mind as well. And then typically in terms of pricing your course, I tell people if it's something that's going to offer them a big transformation in their life in some way, so maybe how to find a higher paying job or how to lose 20 pounds in 4 weeks, whatever, something that's going to give them a big transformation in their life or something that's going to help them earn more money are typically things that you can price more for in a course. So if it's going to really change their life in some way, even in some small way, then that's something you can generally charge $1,000 or $2,000 for. But if it's something that is more for like a hobby or more for fun, then it would generally be more in the $100 to $500 range. But again, kind of just depends on what exactly you're selling there. Beth, is there somewhere that you've shared step by step to set up and make an online course? Nowhere really that's online except for in my blog to BizHive course, which walks you through everything of how to create your course and then sell the course to your audience. So when blog to BizHive opens up again, I think that would be a great fit for you. For now, there's not really anywhere that I've created where it's like that step by step of how to make an online course. But definitely look for Blog to BizHive. And also in future months of Pursuit HQ, we will likely talk about online courses because I know that it is something that a lot of people are interested in. So Braid Secrets asks, I'm struggling with the final two emails to my subscribers where I introduce my course to them at the end of a value added series, feeling a lot of pressure and not wanting to blow it. So have you already shared those emails with them? Like, are people going through this series and seeing these emails, or have you just not published it yet because you're nervous? So my advice would be, you probably can guess this, would be to get those emails out there, put it out to the people who are going through your series right now, and just get started and then start getting that feedback. So see if people are buying it, see what the open rates are on those emails, what the click-through rates are, and then get that kind of feedback to see if it's working or not. And for your sales funnel, keep in mind that average sales funnel conversion rates are around let's say 2 to 4% for decent, 5 to 6% for good, and 7% plus for incredible. So if you have a 2% conversion rate for your sales funnel, like that's pretty good. That's not bad. So that means that if 100 people go through your sales funnel and 2 of them buy, that's actually average. So I get a lot of people who are like, my sales funnel's not working because nobody's bought. And then I'll ask them how many people have gone through their sales funnel, and they'll tell me 20 people. So the secret here is that you're going to need a lot more people to go through your sales funnel before you start seeing sales, which is when you have a sales funnel that's working, that's when you can start looking into things like Facebook ads. But don't feel like you're a failure if you don't get a ton of sales right away, because actually the average percentage is not as high as you might think, which is why adding more people to your funnels can really help. And then also braid secrets, I would also recommend coming to the webinar that I'm co-hosting on Thursday with Jack Bourne. So he's the uh, founder of Deadline Funnel. Deadline Funnel is an incredible tool for creating evergreen deadlines for sales funnels. It'll definitely increase those conversions of how many people are signing up for your products from your sales funnel. So I would definitely come to that. I know he's got a special like offer deal for Deadline Funnel too. Totally don't have to buy it if you don't want to, but something to think about if that is a problem that you're working on right now. Okay, so More Positivity asks, when launching a course, how important is it to close it or say only open for a certain time? Does that urgency gain more traction? And also with what you just said in regards to getting feedback, is that what you mean, that you close it and then connect with the people who complete it? Okay, so good questions. How important is it to basically create an open and closed launch for your course? Now, if you have a sales funnel in place where people are just constantly coming into your funnel and you're selling courses that way, then it's not like necessary to close enrollment for your course. So for Pinfinite Growth, it's always available for purchase on my website. You can go there right now and buy it. But then I also have a sales funnel, which is where we get a majority of our sales for the course. So that is fine. Like we don't need to launch it constantly, and we don't have to close the launch all the time in order to make sales. When we do launch it, we just add extra bonuses for people who buy it during that enrollment period. Now, that works if you have a sales funnel that converts well. But for a lot of people, what I would recommend and what I would say for when you're getting started as well is that you do close your launch, because having that urgency gets people to take action. When you're like, this is going away in 1 week, then people are like, oh my gosh, I better buy it now because I don't want to wait 6 more months for enrollment to open again. So having that urgency is actually huge for people who otherwise might just put it off and put it off because it's just always available for purchase on your website. So yes, I would say do close enrollment. You will make more sales. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but having that urgency is huge for your launch. And then yeah, and that's what I mean about getting feedback, so that when you do close the launch, then you can engage with those students. You can send a survey to them after a few weeks and ask them kind of, what did you get out of this course? Where are you at? What has it helped you with? What would you have liked to see in this course? So just getting that feedback to help you revise it, make any changes to it, and then relaunching it to your audience maybe 2, 3, 4 months later as a revised course with testimonials that you've gotten from that first launch that you did. So hopefully that all makes sense. Okay, so Natasha asks, I'm creating a membership site as a new income stream avenue. Is it reasonable to also include paid content upgrade options to maximize income from a membership site apart from an annual fee. I do think it's reasonable to do that. So basically, you've got a membership site with specific things that you offer every month, and your members know exactly what they get every single month. Basically, how you all know that you get a masterclass, blueprint, checklist, coaching call. That's what you get in Pursuit HQ. Now, what you could also do, and what I could do just as an example, is offer other stuff monthly or whenever you want to that they have to pay for in order to get those things. So, for example, if I wanted to offer like a new course that's more in depth or something like that, or maybe like a one on one coaching call to talk about your income streams, that could be something that I could offer to members for an additional fee. I would just be careful with that because you just want to make sure that people know exactly what they're getting and what they're not getting so that they're not coming to you and they're like, why do I have to pay more for this thing when I'm already paying for the membership? So be really clear about what they do and don't get. And what I would also kind of suggest is that maybe you offer those other new products on your website as well, but maybe you offer them at a discounted rate or a special deal for your members only. So I've seen a lot of people do that where they'll offer something on their website, like a course, but then for their members and their membership site or community, they'll offer it at a discounted rate that only members can get. So that's something you can consider as well. And that's also something you can add into your marketing of your membership site, where it's like members get 20% off of any future online course that I create, or 20% off my one-on-one coaching services, right? So giving them kind of that extra incentive of something that they get as a member, but that you can also charge them more for down the line. Rita, you had a terrible experience with BB Press. I think it's BB Press. Let me just double check here. It's either BB Press or Buddy Press. They might be the same thing. I'm actually not too sure. Um, but like I said, I hired a developer to do this for me. So I did not put it together myself and would honestly have no idea how to do it myself. So that's probably why it was fairly smooth because I didn't have to do this myself. Yeah, it was BB Press. Yeah, so she's a good developer. She did it and I did not, which is why I did not have a terrible experience with it. Mia asks, how do you accept payments for ebooks and courses? Do you use WooCommerce or something else? So I use Samcart, and Samcart is basically just a checkout page, but it integrates with Stripe and PayPal. So you can create checkout pages that you can link to from your sales pages or from your emails or from your webinars. And people just go to those checkout pages in Samcart and they can purchase through that. And then what I do is I use Zapier to connect Samcart with Teachable so that when somebody purchases through Samcart, they're automatically added to a course in Teachable. We did the same thing for Pursuit HQ. So you purchase through Samcart and then automatically you were added to Pursuit HQ on our website. So you can also, if you don't want to use Samcart, you could also use something like Teachable, where you can sell online courses. They have checkout pages. It's very easy to set up. And then when they purchase on Teachable, then they're automatically added into your course. Sylvina says, I have nothing set up yet. Not the product, no products defined just yet. Would you recommend WordPress or Squarespace to create the initial website? I love WordPress. It's what I typically recommend to people, but I think Squarespace is sometimes a little bit easier to use. It just doesn't have as many features or customizability. So I would say WordPress is great and will allow for just more options in the future, more features in the future. And you can find WordPress themes for like $50 that you can set up fairly easily. So it doesn't have to be this complicated the thing that you set up. So if you're up for that, I would say WordPress is a great place to start. But Squarespace can be great also. They've got some really professional looking themes. It seems a bit easier to set up and you can get started with Squarespace fairly easily as well. So my top recommendation would be WordPress, but I know some people feel like it's a little bit difficult to use. I don't think it's that difficult to use, but I've also been using it for several years. So I know there's a little bit of a learning curve there. But if you don't want to do that, you hate technology, just get started with Squarespace. You can always switch later too. No big deal. And Rita asks, how long did you take to create your first email sequence? So for my first email, I mean, it depends on what the email sequence is for, but you could write an email sequence in like a day, right? It doesn't have to take forever. I mean, you can write a few emails in a few hours, right? It's just depending on how long it takes you to write those emails. Some people are really quick at it. They could do it in a day. Other people maybe have to kind of come back to it and work on it throughout a week or so. Um, so it really just depends on you and how long the email sequence is, but this is something you can do in a week, even if you've got a busy schedule, right? I mean, you could spend some mornings or evenings writing these emails and get it up and running in a matter of days. That's awesome, Niels. I'm so glad. And good luck preparing your summit content. That is amazing. I hope it goes fantastic. Okay. Oh, nice. Tammy even has an Etsy SEO class for this exact idea. We were talking about using Etsy as a search engine platform and using SEO to get people to your Etsy shop. That's awesome. So hit up Tammy Cannon for her Etsy SEO class. All right. So City Girl Savings says, if you have multiple products or courses, how long should you wait in between sales funnels for each new product or course? So I'm going to assume you're talking about launches. For a launch, I would say you wouldn't want to launch a new product more than every 2 to 3 months. And it kind of depends. Like if you're doing a huge launch, I would probably not do it more than every 4 months. If it's like this really drawn out thing, it's maybe a kind of pricey course, then I would wait every 3 to 4 months. If it's a more inexpensive course and you're only sending out a few emails, you're not doing this like really in-depth launch, then you could do it more like every couple of months. So it kind of just depends on how crazy your launch is going to be and basically how much are you going to annoy people during that time frame, because you don't want to annoy them too much too often. So bottom line, shoot for launches every 3 months or so. And in between those launches, you can be providing free value. You can mention your products. You can definitely do that, just making it less of like this big launch and more of like talking about a particular topic and then telling people, oh, by the way, I have a course on this topic that you can go purchase right now. So that's an option as well. So every 3 months is a good benchmark. Sylvina says, my native language is Spanish, but I'd like to focus on webinars and e-products in English as I feel more comfortable for business in English. Do you think a non-native English speaker would be bad? I mean, for webinars, you have to be nice, pleasant to hear. Maybe not perfect English is not nice. Okay, so my opinion on that is, and what I've seen other people do this fantastically, is that if you're providing great value to people, then and they can understand your concepts and what your strategies you're conveying, then it does not matter if you're not a native English speaker. So I would not let you let that hold you back in terms of getting your stuff out there, teaching webinars, creating online courses. Just as long as people can understand what you're saying and they get value from it, they're going to follow you and they're going to buy your courses. So don't let that hold you back if you are not a native English speaker, but you want to sell things to English speakers. Just focus on providing value and the customers will come. What are the best email marketing services to consider? Valeria says. I would say for most people, ConvertKit is fantastic because ConvertKit is easy enough to use where it's not like this huge learning curve that a lot of other email service providers have. It's also quite inexpensive to get started with. and they have a lot of features, and they're adding more features often too. I just talked to them recently, and they're working on adding some new features as well. So I love ConvertKit in terms of what most people need from their email service provider. So check out ConvertKit would be my suggestion. Ginny says you can use a sales funnel without having a website. Would this be ideal for marketing on Pinterest, making pins and directing them to your offer in a sales funnel? Not quite. So for Pinterest, it works best if you're directing people to some sort of free, valuable content, like a blog post or a podcast interview or something like that, a YouTube video. So what I would do is create free blog content on your website where you mention like the opt-in for your sales funnel. So maybe your sales funnel is an evergreen webinar. So in your blog post, you would say, by the way, if you want more information on this topic, sign up here for a free webinar. And then they would sign up for that, and that would start the sales funnel. And the thing you would pin onto Pinterest would be a pin for that blog post. I've tried this before where I've pinned directly to a sales funnel opt-in page, and it just doesn't work as well on Pinterest because typically people on Pinterest are looking for more value and more content-based things, I guess I would say. Facebook ads can work really well for that, though, if you want to just send people straight to a landing page to opt in for a sales funnel or an evergreen webinar or something like that. But for Pinterest, just focus on the content aspect, and you'll probably get more pins, more traffic, and more opt-ins from that. Okay. All right, so Vivi asks, a newbie yoga blogger here. I'll eventually offer courses and video classes, but I'm not a qualified teacher, so I'm not comfortable with that yet. Do you have any ideas for yoga related products or services besides affiliate marketing to start to make an income? All right, so I mean, it would be tough to offer some sort of service or course if you don't feel qualified to teach yoga just yet. But I mean, if you, let's just think, let's say you've been doing yoga for a year and maybe your audience is people who've never tried yoga before. So if you can help them learn the basics of yoga in an online course, then you're still qualified to teach that because you are farther than where they are now. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you have no expertise on this topic or you're just not qualified to teach it just because you're not like a certified yoga teacher. If you are able to teach something and you have the knowledge that's at least more than what your ideal customers are at, then you're able to teach it, right? Like you can teach it. So try to avoid that thought pattern of just like I'm not an expert, so I can't teach something, and just think about where are they, the people that you're teaching, and then where are you, and what's that gap that you can help them fill. So you possibly could do an online course, or you could focus on becoming some sort of maybe yoga influencer where you have a blog or an Instagram or a YouTube channel where you're helping people with yoga related things and you grow following that way. And then what you could do there is do things like sponsored posts where you collaborate with yoga brands in order to like sell their products and you get a commission of those sales, or they pay you a flat fee for promoting one of their products. So you might want to try that. Start growing your audience and become kind of a yoga influencer where you can promote other people's stuff. That's a way to do this as well. I hope the video didn't freeze. Looks frozen on my end. Okay, I'll continue. We'll see what happens here. Okay. All right, there we go. So it says if your course is service-based and includes live coaching, what's the best length of launch period? A lot of workshops and courses in my industry have really long sign-up periods. Uh-oh. Let me just see here. Looks like it's freezing on my end, but I'm not sure if that's for everyone or just me. All right, I'm going to continue. So Katia, sorry, says if your course is service based and includes live coaching, what is the best length of launch period? A lot of workshops and courses in my industry have really long sign up periods, up to 6 months. Wow, that is so long. I would say that you would want to keep it to more like 2 weeks or less. Now, it could depend on industry. I have not seen an industry actually where the launch period is 6 months. That's very long and doesn't incorporate that sense of urgency, which can be really important in a launch. Um, so I would say try and keep it to 2 weeks, test it, right? Like see how that works. Maybe your industry is different. Maybe 6 months is more ideal. I just can't imagine how that would be helpful in terms of urgency. So try 2 weeks, and then you can even shrink it from there. So my launches used to be 2 weeks. Now they're more like 10 days, but we're even trying to get them less than that, more like a week, because I think like if you have a long launch, then you're just spreading out the days that people are going to buy. But if you have a week long launch, then you're just going to make more sales during that 1 week that people are able to buy your course. So 1 to 2 weeks is ideal there. Melanie says, I just started to create a web presence for my new business. Do you suggest I start with a blog first to gain an audience or create a website that includes a blog page? I think a blog is invaluable for gaining an audience, showing your authority, and getting more email subscribers on your list. So I would recommend starting with a blog. But if you are doing this for a business, you didn't mention what kind of business it is or what you're selling. But for some businesses, it can be more make more sense to have a homepage and then have a blog on your website, and then maybe have like a services page, contact page, all portfolio, those types of things. But the point is that you want to have a blog somewhere on your website. So for some businesses, your blog can be your homepage. My blog is actually the homepage on my website, but I do have some other stuff leading people to my courses and my sales funnels and things like that. So just kind of depends on what you're selling, but whatever you're selling, I recommend having a blog on your website. And I don't, Jersey Shea, unfortunately, don't have any experience with WooCommerce, so I can't quite comment on that one for you. Um, and let's see here. So more positivity says, do you have any input for different things to include for life coaching packages? So I'm not super familiar with the life coaching industry. I've never done it or I've never worked with a life coach either. So what I would say if you're creating packages in any industry is take a look at some of the other people who are in a comparable place as where you are or what you're selling or what your brand is, and see what's in their packages and how can you maybe even just like create like a spreadsheet of here's their lowest package, here's their middle package, here's their highest package. And you just look at all their different websites and just add all of the things that they have in their different packages, and then evaluate like, okay, this thing is in every beginner package that all life coaches seem to have. This thing is always in the highest tier. So kind of creating your packages based on what you find, and then also based on what you want to bring to your life coaching business. So maybe there are certain things that you already have in mind that you're like, this I haven't seen before, but it would be awesome for a life coaching service. So you can add that into one of your packages. So do a little research based on what other people are offering and selling and what kind of price they're offering it at in your industry. And then create some packages, tweaking them based on what feels right to you. And then also just tweaking them as you go along, as you get clients, they ask for certain things, or maybe they don't use certain things that you do have in one of your packages. So you can just kind of like remove it. So you're not doing work that you don't have to do. And then just go from there. So do a little research, create your packages, and then revise and tweak as you go along. Compass Rose Nutrition and Wellness says, I've been looking to move away from MailChimp and thinking about ConvertKit. Can you tell me if there's anything I will miss from MailChimp? That's a good question. And honestly, gosh, I honestly don't think that there's anything in MailChimp that ConvertKit does not have. So I don't think you'll really miss anything. The only thing maybe is that in ConvertKit, their email designer is more simple. So they do that. And what I mean by that is basically you can't really add a ton of like design elements in your ConvertKit emails. It's more you can add like a banner at the top if you want, and then maybe just like your text, and that's kind of it. You can add some images if you want to. In MailChimp, you can like design it more and make it more like newsletter-ish, which is not really something that ConvertKit offers. That's the only real difference. And the big reason why ConvertKit does that is because if you add a bunch of images and you make it more newslettery looking with like different like columns and things like that in your email, then email services like Gmail or Hotmail, I don't, what are the other ones? They actually notice that and will tend to put those emails into the promotions or spam folder because they pick up on images and different formatting, and they'll think, oh, this is a promotional email. We're going to put it in the promotions inbox. So the reason ConvertKit doesn't add all those bells and whistles to their email designer is because they want it to feel more like an email from a friend so that your email gets sent to the inbox versus a promotion folder. So even if it feels like, well, I would love to add some more images, they're actually doing it for your own good, where you want to make sure that people are actually getting your emails. But yes, ConvertKit is a great next step if you've been using MailChimp. Also, I know that I talk with my hands like crazy, right? Like I'm seeing this video like play back for me, and it's just like this interpretive dance of me talking with my hands. Some of my friends will even like make fun of me and do like little dances when I'm talking. I don't know why I do it. It's just like my thing. So I hope it's not too distracting. But I see myself like in the corner of my eye, just over there, like, hey, here's the answer to your question. Oh my goodness. Um, so Wild5 says, how do you know what to spend your time on? I struggle with implementing courses I've learned and have a hard time knowing what to focus on for the day to day. So what I do is I create goals for about a 3-month period, and I usually just have one or two big goals. I try not to do like I'm going to have this goal and this goal and this goal and this goal and this goal, right? It's very easy to be like, well, I want to do all the things and accomplish all of this stuff right now. But you have to pace yourself, right? It's a marathon, not a race. So deciding on what are your priorities right now, what are the few things that you want to accomplish in the next 90 days or 3 months, and what is it going to take to get there? And then blocking out all of the other stuff that comes your way, because there will be other opportunities, there will be other courses you might want to take, other things you want to learn or implement or do. But you just have to know that you're going to save those things for the future and work on those few priorities right now. And those priorities or goals could be anything that feels important to you, or that feels like it's going to help you get to that place that you want to go to. So think about what are those few things that you want to accomplish in the next 90 days, and then reverse engineer what you need to do to get there, and then just block out the other stuff. And that helps me plan out my day to day as well. So I plan out, I figure out my goals that I want to achieve in the next 90 days. Maybe it's a launch, creating a new product. Maybe it's creating like a podcast or something like that. And then I plan out what do I need to accomplish by the end of month 1, month 2, month 3. And then I start planning out every single day. So what do I need to do during week 1, week 2, week 3? And I plan out all of those tasks in Asana, which is a project management tool. It's free. It's super awesome. It's called Asana, Asana. And I just put in all my tasks. So I know what I'm doing for the next 3 months and what I need to do to get to that goal that I have. So bottom line, pick 1 or 2 priorities that you want to focus on for the next 90 days, and then plan out what you need to do on a daily basis to hit that goal. And then be okay with blocking out all of the other opportunities and ideas that come your way, saving them for future months. Okay. Okay, cool. So Sylvina is asking for a list of my recommended software for each step. So I'll just kind of name some of the software that I recommend. For a website, I use WordPress, but Squarespace can also be a uh, website creator as well. So WordPress, Squarespace. For selling online courses, I use Teachable, which also has checkout pages through Stripe and PayPal just integrated into it, so you can accept payments that way. So Teachable is great for selling online courses. Um, let's see, for email marketing, I personally use Infusionsoft just because I need some more advanced features, and we have some funnels that we're running with Infusionsoft. But for almost everyone, I recommend ConvertKit. It is much cheaper, much easier to use, and it does almost everything that you would need Infusionsoft for. So ConvertKit is great for email marketing. For landing pages, I use Lead Pages, and but I have heard that ClickFunnels is also really good. So I use Lead Pages personally, but maybe you'll want to check out ClickFunnels as well. Um, and then for my checkout pages, we use Samcart. But if you're using Teachable, you can just use Teachable as well. For invoicing software, I used to use FreshBooks, which is an invoicing software, and that's quite simple to use. So FreshBooks for invoicing. What else is there? I feel like there was one other thing that I wanted to mention. Oh, for recording a course, I use ScreenFlow. So it records your screen and your voice as you're speaking through the course. So that's something you might want to consider as well. I think those are all the big things that I use. Oh, and webinar software. So for webinars, I use Webinar Jam for live webinars and then Ever Webinar for recorded webinars. Cool. Sylvina says, how much would you charge for a one-on-one consultation per hour or 50-minute session? Just to have an idea for a possible service. I think it really depends on your expertise and your authority in your industry. So I mean, a couple years ago, I offered one-on-one services and I charged, I think it was like 300 an hour. Might have even been less than that. Maybe 300 an hour for like a coaching session. I honestly think it was less. Maybe it was like 250 an hour. Now, if I was doing that, I would probably charge closer to mm, I would say between 700 and 1,000 for something like that. So it just depends on your experience. Have you helped other people in this particular topic? Like, do you have case studies or testimonials to show that you can get someone results in such a short amount of time? And then what's your authority in your industry? Do people trust you? Do you have an audience that really wants one on one consultations? So it kind of just depends. I've seen people offer this for $100, right? I mean, if you're making $100 for a 60-minute consultation, that's pretty darn good, right? That's like $100 an hour. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more time because you'll have to do emails back and forth, probably that kind of stuff. But I would say, like, what is worth your time? How much time would this actually take you? So maybe the call is 60 minutes, but how long are the emails going to take you? How long is it going to take you to set up an invoice for this person? Maybe to send them any feedback after the call. So maybe you send them like a written document, which is what I did when I did offer one-on-one services. I would send them like a 4 or 5 page written document afterwards with some suggestions and next steps for them. So all of that is part of that fee, right? They pay the fee, but then you're doing all of this extra work. So consider what is worth your time. How long will this actually take you? Um, And also potentially, what are other people in your industry who are at a similar level as you charging for this thing? Or even people who are kind of below you in what level they're at or above you, and then kind of gauging your pricing based on that as well. So Fawn James says, I'm adding copywriting as an income stream aside from my business coaching. I've been coaching for 7 years, but writing comes super easy. How can I add it to my product suite the right way? I would say if you already are doing business coaching and you have a particular type of client that you're attracting, then market your copywriting services to those people, like as a service that's like the no-brainer next step for people who do business coaching with you. Because maybe you've noticed in your business coaching that something that's holding a lot of people back from getting to the next level is they just have bad copywriting in their business and they need better sales pages or emails or blog posts or whatever it is. And you could be that person. So market it to the existing clients you have, or at least just the type of audience that you are attracting. Um, and that would be like very integrated into your product suite, because then it's like they come to you for business coaching, you do a stellar job helping them with that, but then you're kind of upselling them into your copywriting because it's the next step that will help them grow their business. Um, and yeah, and just in terms of like what your website would look like, I would have probably a copywriting page and a coaching page, and then you explain what exactly they're getting in both of those things. But they're congruent enough where you're you're marketing them to the same type of person, so it's not going to feel like this weird thing if you come out with copywriting services. If you were like a dog trainer and you had a dog training website and dog training clients, and then you're like, I'm going to launch copywriting services on my website, that would be kind of weird, right? Because they're a totally different audience. But because you're already marketing this to a particular audience, and maybe you already have an audience who follows you for business coaching advice, I would think it will actually be quite easy for you to add copywriting services to your business model and get clients coming in to that as well. Thank you. It's part of my charm, Niels says, my hand movement, interpretive dance talking. um, I agree, Rita. Asana is amazing. I can't believe they don't. I mean, they do charge for it. I think if you have like 15 or more team members, which is crazy to me because I would 100% pay for it if I needed to, but I don't have to. Maybe that will change in the future, but I kind of hope not. Okay. So Wild5 says, currently I'm selling t-shirts that I screen print, hand paint to raise awareness and funds for endangered wildlife. So cool. I love that. I also have a mini web series of visiting these nonprofits around the world. Wow. I really want to transition my business into digital products of some kind. Do you have any suggestions of how I could create a course around this brand? Ooh, let's see. So the first thing that comes to mind, it is a little bit more challenging with that niche, but I know that there's a course in there that you could create. But the first thing that comes to mind is if you are creating things that raise awareness and money for endangered wildlife, then think about the people that you would be attracting to that brand and the people that you probably already have in your audience. So these are people who probably love animals, who also want to help. They just don't necessarily know how. So they are buying your shirts because that's their way to contribute. So people who love animals, they want to help. This is an important cause to them as well. So they're supporting you in this cause. So you may even want to create a course on like, how do you get started with um, contributing more, like in a bigger way, to a cause that you love. And you can give them some suggestions and teach them more ways that they can do more versus just donating money, if that makes sense. So maybe it's like, how would this work? So I'm thinking, like, for example, for me, it's funny you said that because I actually did donate to a wildlife nonprofit a few months ago. And I donated to them because I love animals and I want to donate, but I do want to be able to give in bigger ways too, and not just with money. So if there was a course that told me, like, here's what you can do, maybe it's recycling, or maybe it's like partnering with certain nonprofits in a non-monetary sense, like maybe volunteering or something, but basically giving me a roadmap of here's how you can really center your life more around giving back to endangered wildlife versus just donating money. That could be something, if that makes sense, like how to be a better, would that even be a better, not volunteer necessarily, but philanthropist? There we go. How to be a better philanthropist. That could be something. I'm having trouble kind of thinking of something more that you would teach, unless you're teaching somebody like how to start a nonprofit brand or something like that. There's probably something in there. What I would say is you might even want to do a survey of your customers and the people in your audience. Like, what do they want to learn about this topic? Before I create any course, I always do a survey of my audience just to get that feedback from them and to know that I'm on the right track. So I would say everything I just told you, maybe it's going to work, maybe not, but do a survey of your audience and see what they tell you that they want to learn from you. Because maybe there's stuff that we're both missing, right? That they're seeing in your brand that they would love for you to talk about. Oh, that's so sweet of you. More positivity. I wish I knew your name too. Let me know if you're still here. But that's really sweet of you. I'm so glad you're enjoying Pursuit HQ. Portrait Fusion Gallery. Sorry, I don't know your actual name. Portrait Fusion Gallery says, can you use lead pages instead of deadline funnel? What's the difference? Very good question. So lead pages is a landing page creator. You can create landing pages to get people to opt in for something specific. What it doesn't do is offer urgency or evergreen deadlines to your sales funnels. So it's just an opt-in page creator. Now you can also make those little pop-up boxes. Like if you click on a button, then a pop-up comes up that says like enter your name and email address. That is something you can do in lead pages as well. But the difference between that and which helps you grow your email list and deadline funnel is that deadline funnel works after you've already got those email subscribers. So what you could do is use lead pages to get people to opt into your email list or into your sales funnel. And then once they're in your sales funnel, deadline funnel will be able to tell, it'll be like, oh, okay, this person just joined sales funnel A, and we're going to add a deadline for 72 hours. So as soon as they start that sales funnel, in 72 hours, the deal ends. So you're able to write emails that basically say, hey, you've only got 48 hours left before this bundle goes away or before this product goes away forever, kind of thing. Like they can't get it after that date. So deadline funnel allows you to create evergreen deadlines to create that urgency in your sales funnels, whereas lead pages just helps you get email subscribers for people to go into those sales funnels. So hopefully that difference makes sense there. You can definitely use them together though, and use them to create a sales funnel. You're welcome, Slovena. I'm glad to help. Oh, wow. Fawn James says, yes, they cannot write at all. So talking about her business coaching clients, but she wants to add copywriting services. And I end up writing for them and I don't charge. That is when you know you've got a new service budding, right? Like there's something that you should be charging for. But I was looking into it as a first step versus a next step. So this gives me another view. Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like you've already got business coaching clients who need copywriting help. And I would feel this way all the time when I did my web design business, where it was like, I would create a website for somebody, but then I'd see them use it in a way that I knew was not going to bring them clients. So that's why I offered the coaching services as kind of like this add-on for my graphic design clients, where it'd be, I'll create a website for you. And then if you need some help actually mapping out your business plan and getting started and getting clients and making money from this website you just created, then we can add that as an additional service. So that sounds like the perfect step for you as well, where you're doing the business coaching, but then the copywriting is like the next thing that they need to buy in order to really get great results, right? So awesome. Glad that helped you. Ooh, I do like that, Katya. A wildlife course targeted at the educational sector, raising awareness and learning about wildlife. That is very cool. And I bet because you mentioned that you've gone, I think it was gone to other countries and yeah, visited nonprofits around the world for wildlife nonprofits. I'm sure you have a ton of amazing stuff that you could share for educational brand. That's amazing. Okay, so Fawn James says, if I offer copywriting as an upsell, I'm stuck again on what that lower offer should be. This has been my problem, only offering one thing. So you don't necessarily need to have a lower offer right now. It could be, I mean, you could offer both things on your website as well, the business coaching as one thing, copywriting as another. So maybe you have clients that just do one or the other, but then also offering copywriting as an upsell for those business coaching clients. You don't necessarily, I mean, later on, if you want to add something else, a lower offer that would be great would be an online course, because that's more of a lower tiered offer for those people who maybe can't afford business coaching, or maybe they want to write their copy themselves, but they can't afford to hire you, right? So they want to learn how to DIY it. Those are both great courses that you can market to those people who can't afford it, or they want to learn how to do it themselves. So consider that for the future. But for now, I would say it seems like a good idea to add the copywriting service first, and then consider adding that lower tier of an online course about business coaching or copywriting. You're welcome, Wild5. I hope that was helpful. Okay. All right, so Mia says, I'm a startup travel agent for parents, but really want to move to digital content. How could this be a course that would sell? So services, best way to get clients, wait for blog growth and traffic. Okay. Okay. So how could this be a course that would sell? I mean, I would think right off the bat, you can create a course that's like how to plan your your annual family vacation, or how to plan your best vacation ever in 2 weeks, right? Because even for me, like I don't have kids, I don't have a family, but when I go to plan a trip, it takes me forever because there's just so many things that you need to do, like the hotel, the flight, and then actually planning what you're going to do on the trip. What are some areas that are must sees? What are areas that like you shouldn't go to, or whatever? What's the culture of this particular place? There's so many things to research that it's kind of overwhelming for me when I have to plan a big trip. So if there was some sort of course that mapped it all out for me and it was like, okay, go to this website, or do this first step, or do this or do that, or here's what you should be doing on day 7, kind of thing. Like if it really mapped it out for me, it would make it so much less overwhelming. And if there were maybe worksheets or things that they could actually write in or plan out their entire itinerary right inside of your course, I think that would be really helpful. And it's not something that needs to be a one-on-one service. It can totally be a course, just as long as you're helping them plan out the process and plan out their trip for their family, and marketing it, like you said, to parents who have a family that they're going to be taking with them on this trip. And then let's see, best way to get clients, wait for blog growth and traffic. So for any online course, I would say that your main focus should be growing an email list, and that email list is who you will be marketing your course to. So work on providing that free content, whether it be a blog or a YouTube channel or something like that. Provide that free content to get those people on your email list, and then use that email list as a way to market your course to your email subscribers. You're welcome, Mia. All right, so I'll stick around for a few more minutes. I know we've got a couple more questions here. I'll stick around for a few more minutes, answer these last questions. So if you have any final questions, pop them into the chat, and then we will peace out. I can't believe we've already been here for 2.5 hours. It flies by. 2.5 hours is like a really long movie, if you're actually thinking of it in those terms. Isn't it crazy how, like, if you're watching a movie, it can feel like forever, but then when I'm answering these questions, it just like flies by. For me, at least, it feels super fun. Um, all right, so Melanie says, my business is going to be a personal styling business for women over 40. I can create a blog offering tips and tricks for this, but what kind of course offerings do you suggest for this market? So, my best advice to you, Melanie, would be to survey your audience to see what they need help with. I've helped people create courses in the fashion, personal styling industry, and they've created courses in different ways. Some of their courses are like seasonal clothing, like how to plan out your seasonal style, or other courses are about finding your own personal style, like what kind of style should you be gravitating towards. Others are like how to build a capsule wardrobe so you can have more of a minimalist approach to it. So it really depends on you and your audience. So my best advice would be to it sounds like you haven't started your business yet, so start the business, and start a blog or some way that you can grow an audience and provide that free value. And then once you've got a few people in your audience, send out a survey, figure out what they really need help with, and then create a course on that. So it just depends on who these people are that you're attracting and how you can best serve them. Tamar, okay, beautiful name, by the way. Better than a long movie, yay. I'm so glad to hear that, Priscilla. That's awesome. Thank you for sticking around too. I know this has been quite a long day, but it's gone by fast for me. Awesome, Rucha. I'm really glad that you learned a lot today. It's fantastic. And on Monday, actually, just to give you a little sneak peek at next month. So, next month, we're going to be covering traffic growth strategies. So, how to get more traffic organically and how to basically attract more people to your brand. So, on Monday, the next masterclass is launching. Yay! So, get excited for that. And then we'll be covering a brand new topic in May, all about traffic. So I'm excited about that as well. I feel like traffic is one of those big things that a lot of people have questions on and they need help with. Like once you get more traffic, then it's so much easier to get more clients, customers, subscribers, etc. So it's kind of like that missing puzzle piece for a lot of people. I think that'll be really helpful for a lot of people in Pursuit HQ. And Katya's looking forward to it. Yay! Okay, and then Tiara asks, what kind of e-course ideas would you recommend for a fashion blogger niche? So for a fashion blogger, I actually just bought an e-course in kind of this realm. So if you've heard of Hillary Rushford from Dean Street Society, she's not quite a fashion blogger, but kind of more of like a fashion Instagrammer, but she also teaches business courses. But she came out with a course that was about finding your personal style. And I thought that was genius because she has great style. She shows her style on her Instagram frequently. She sometimes writes blog posts about personal style or has emails about personal style. So it was a perfect fit, right? It's like if you are showing people your fashion all the time, then they're going to be interested in fashion and potentially finding their own sense of style. So a course on how to find your own style, I think would be awesome. But again, I would email or I would survey your audience and figure out what do they really need help with. So maybe it's about finding their personal style, or maybe it's something totally different that neither one of us can predict right now. So regardless of what niche you're in or industry you're in, send out a survey to your audience. Ask them, what are you struggling with in terms of fashion or style? And then they'll give you some really great answers that you can then turn into a course. And that's what I've done for all of my courses. I just send out a survey, figure out what are the things that people really need help with right now, and then I create courses to tackle those problems. It's worked for me. It's worked for a lot of my students. So I would try that for you as well. So glad to hear that, Melanie. I'm really glad this was helpful for you. And Sylvina, Yay, that's awesome to hear. You guys are so awesome, so kind and sweet. I love you all so much. And I love, by the way, like I've seen so many people in the chat today offering advice to each other and offering to be in contact together, which I think is like the freaking coolest thing that could happen. More than me giving advice is just you all being like, "Hey, I can help with that, and here's my email, so you can contact me to get advice on that thing." I think that's freaking fantastic, and I love you all for being willing to help each other out as well. That is so cool. All right, so last question here from Lillian. Lillian says, I have a food and beer blog, and I'm definitely having a hard time thinking of income streams other than physical products. Have you worked with a lot of foodie bloggers? I have worked with food bloggers before. And so, physical product, I mean, for a food blog, you can absolutely work with food brands and create sponsored content or affiliate marketing kind of content where you're making money through those mediums. That can work very well for you. And then let's see, a food and beer blog, even a course that's like how to make your own beer. How cool would that be? Because people are probably coming to you wanting to learn more about different beer brands, but if you were teaching them like how to make your own beer, which is very possible, I've seen people do it. I think that would be so cool. Or if it was a food blog and you're showing them like how to do a dinner party with food and beer, right? Like a beer, what would that be called? A beer dinner party? I don't know. Um, but how to throw like a really fun dinner party for your beer loving friends, something like that. I think that would be really cool too, where you give them recipes and ideas and the step by step, like here's what you need to buy, here's what you need to do, here's the time frame and all that kind of stuff. So you can create digital products. You can also do sponsored posts, affiliate marketing. But again, survey your audience. I know I keep saying that, but it's so important to just send out those surveys, figure out what people need. And Lillian says the dinner party idea was something I was thinking, a food and beer pairing. I think that'd be awesome. And yeah, Meg also says, how about a digital cookbook with beer pairings? I think that would be fantastic as well. Um, yeah, that would actually be really cool. I would love to know that too, because I like beer, but definitely have no idea what kind of food to pair it with. Um, Kind of like wine, right? What kind of food you would pair it with. So yeah, all interesting ideas. At the end of the day, I would just survey your audience and kind of figure out what they need help with. But it sounds like you've got a few things to go off of from what we've kind of shared with you. The beer matchmaker. I love that name. That's a really cute potential course name. Um, all right. And last question from Jennifer. Any e-course suggestions for a product-based business that sells personalized apparel and gifts for life celebrations, birthdays, birth of new baby, family reunion, and for businesses like logo and apparel? Oof, let's see. It's it's tough when it's a kind of strictly physical product business to think of an e-course that you can do and charge for. Unless it's like let's just say that these are people, so you sell personalized apparel. Like who are you serving? Who are the people who would buy personalized apparel from you? Maybe it's people who like DIY products. I think it's kind of a stretch though. I would say that it would be kind of difficult to think of an e-course that would go with a business like that. I'm trying to think, unless there's like some sort of DIY course that you could incorporate into that. When I try to think of like, can I add a course to this person's business? I generally think, who are the customers that this person is already attracting to their business? So who are the customers that are coming to you for personalized apparel and gifts for life celebrations? Who are those people, and what else do they need help with, or what else do they want to learn? And then creating a course on those topics. But it sounds like you work with a range of people, like people who are having a new baby, family reunion, businesses. So there might not be that kind of like easy to find person that that you would be able to create a course for is the only thing. So It might be kind of difficult to create an e-course. Mm, yeah, unfortunately. I wish I could give you a better idea there. I just don't know that that would be the right business next step for your business. A guide for German beer festival. That's really cool too. Wow. Okay. So many good ideas. You guys are geniuses. This was so fun. I'm sorry for the tech issues we had in the beginning, but very glad that we were able to make this work because I've so loved being able to hang out with you for the past couple hours today. The recording of this Q&A session will go live on our website in about 24 hours or less. So it'll be under the coaching section on the website. And stay tuned for Monday when the next masterclass is released. Can't wait. And I will see you in the forum as well. Thank you guys for being amazing. Have a great, great rest of your day. And I'll chat with you soon. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for coming today.